next, Kaneka Trotter of Senior One Source, Senior Living Advisor / Entrepreneur. You don't want to miss. Hi, I'm Dr. Nancy, your medical celebrity doctor, and this is Dr. Nancy Knows, the talk show that brings awareness, inspiration, and motivation to many individuals across our country, uniting the nation. We do that not only through my 25 years of experience, but bringing individuals on the show that are experts in their field of industry to tell us what they're doing to impact their community at large. Kaneka, it is so nice to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
So listen, we just met. I was introduced to you through one of our networks, right?
Yeah.
We often talk about your network is your net worth.
Absolutely.
And I really love what you're doing in the community.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, one of my passions just grabs my heart is the elderly.
Yeah.
Is one of the many. And veterans, of course, too. I want to say thank you for the service that you've done to our country. Thank you. I know that, you are a retired Navy Reserve officer, right? And you're giving back to the community in a great way that we can all benefit, because time doesn't wait for anybody, and we all get a little older, and we all need help sometimes.
Absolutely.
And so we need individuals that love what they do, and it clearly comes through in what you do. So tell us more.
So my name's Kaneka, and I'm a Senior Living Advisor with Senior One Source, and we help the senior community absolutely in every facet of life. And so if grandma or great aunt wants to retire and move to Arizona and wants to be in independent living, I can help her transition there. Or assisted living if she needs a little bit more help. Or say there is a real challenge and say there's a diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer or things of that nature. We can help the family transition to a senior living home, memory care facility, whatever its needs, all the way through hospice care. So whatever is needed for our seniors, I'm here to do.
So tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to love this population. Really, honestly. I mean, you're double mastered, criminal justice as well, and there's a few other things, applied sciences. Tell us why.
So originally when I thought as a little girl I wanted to be an attorney, I wanted to make a difference at some point, but I didn't know the magnitude. Culturally, I'm the eldest granddaughter on both sides, and so I ended up having the responsibility of taking care of my grandparents at one point in life until they expired, right? And that was kind of the transition for me. And I was like, how can I make a difference? I didn't really want to be a criminal defense attorney. That's not really making a difference. And who's the most vulnerable population? And that would be the elderly. And so I really kind of pivoted my experience, and I went into behavioral health. And then I ended up just kind of finding dementia and Alzheimer, because that is a behavior. And I ended up kind of finding my passion with the elderly community. And I loved it when I took care of my grandparents, even though they're biased because they're your grandparents, right? But I just loved them, and I could never get mad about any of their decisions, any of their choices, even the way they treated me, because I knew that it wasn't them, and I wanted to protect them.
Well, that is a special population, dementia and Alzheimer's and behavioral issues. And some family members, it can really actually be devastating to a family.
Absolutely.
And so you treat these types of individual families to help with any kind of assistance that they need in the community or at home. What other kind of services do you offer?
So we partner with tons of people, and it's all about relationships, as that's why we're here, right? And so I work with home health agencies, I work with hospice agencies, I partner with great assisted living communities, independent living communities, and senior group homes. So it's a gamut of stuff. So movers, real estate agents. So the big thing right now is that the market is great in real estate, right? And so I have a great partnership with realtors and myself to help mom and dad, grandma and grandpa sell their house right now while the market is hot, and to get them into that next level of care if that's what they need. And sometimes you didn't even know you were sitting on this asset, and then I bring it to your attention. So I talk about long-term care policies, I talk about any of your assets, and sometimes people don't have that financial aspect, right? So I have great attorneys that will liquidate those assets, or even if we need to get on All-Tax, which is Arizona Long-Term Care Systems, for those of us that don't have the finances that some of us are set up to have. So there's a gamut of partnerships that I have that I work with, and I'll take care of them no matter what the situation.
Well, that is a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, again, like, how does individuals get in touch with you and your organization, because that's so important?
Absolutely. So my owner, Lewis Johnson, he has marvelously put us in the spotlight. And so this magazine, we're on page 46 of 47, and it kind of gives a gamut of all of us. I have a licensed social work on file. I have an LPN on staff. I have some other great team members. And so the Spotlight magazine has us here. It's in doctors' offices around the valley, as well as my card. If you see any of us, we're all kind of team members. And then on the back kind of gives a list of things that we can do for you and the partnerships that we serve as well.
Well, that's amazing. And, you know, when I was doing research, I see that that you guys provide free senior living guidance. So the consultations are all free.
Right.
And there's very little that we get free in this world anymore. And so that's wonderful. Yeah. Really wonderful. So how does one, after they connect with you, what would a process be in terms of getting to know what it is that you do and meet the needs of the loved ones?
So you can contact us at our websites. You can go to www.senioronesource.net, or you can call me directly at my number here at the 623-204-7999. You would talk to me, we would set an appointment, and I do meet all of my clients face to face. And that's because I am a master's level counselor. I do want to do a clinical assessment on them to make sure that I can appropriate and put them in the correct place. And so I never want to overpromise and underdeliver, so I go above and beyond and see all of my clients. If it comes to a situation where it's telemedicine or needs to be telephonic, those are understandables because of the time it is. But I do like to get eyes on my clients at all times.
Well, that's really great. Do you have like a success story that you're proud to really talk about that has happened?
Oh, all of them are success stories, but I think my biggest one I'll say that I talk about the most. So sometimes in this process, I take these clients on tours, and sometimes it's usually only 3. Well, I do have some sassy ones that I like. You know, at the elder community, they like what they like, right? So I had one lady who made me tour her 14 different places until she found home. But it was worth it. She was a doll, and she lived her last life on her terms, and that's what I'm all about. And so she wanted to find a place that felt like where she was from and wanted to have the same love and attention that she was used to. She was 96 years old. She lived for the next 14 months, but it was on her terms, and I loved it. So a little bit, because I don't have grandparents anymore, it's a twofold. You know, spending those times with those seniors kind of fill my heart because I don't have grandparents anymore. So just being able to let them live their life to their terms, I'm with it.
Well, that sounds so gratifying in what you do because, well, you know, as we evolve in life, you should never really get to a point where you're never old enough. You're too old to learn something.
Right.
And I can tell you, spending time with the elderly, you always learn something, that's for sure.
Yep.
Definitely. Then if the consultation initially is free, then what types of prices or packages do you have, regarding some of the services that you offer?
So every partnership has their own, so that's a separate appointment for them. But if it comes to a point where you needed me to actually place you, those are the services. It's almost like a finder's fee, right? None of the money ever comes directly from the client, and so we go to those kind of finder's fee. When you move into the home or you move into the community, they compensate us for finding them clients. And so we just make sure that they're appropriate for their level of care, that they can take care of them, and then we'll find them. In Arizona, we are a retirement state. And so there are 3,500 different choices that you can choose. And so now all of them are built the same. And so my job is to find the ones that take care of you.
Okay. Now, is this out of pocket or insurance or state? How does individuals finance it or pay for some of the services?
Some of the services, back in the 60s and 70s, there was a really hard push for long-term care policy. So some of my clients will have that. They've been paying into it for years, from probably the 60s or 70s, and that'll help them. Some of my patients are private pay, which means that they just pay out of pocket because they're financially able to do that, and most places are financial. Unfortunately, insurance doesn't usually cover staying in places to stay. They'll pay for the care and things of that nature if you wanted to stay home, but if you're at the level of care where you need it to be 24-hour care, that's usually a private out-of-pocket thing.
I see. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I really discovered and loved about you as well and your organization is that you have this Wellness Wednesday and their kits. And so it's grassroots. You're out in the community introducing yourselves and you're providing these kits. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So all of our marketing is kind of brainstorming. We're a small group anyways. There's only 6 of us. And so we all kind of do collaboration of what do we want to do to give back to the community. So me and another colleague, we decided to do Wellness Wednesday Kits. And we just really just market across the valley, sometimes on the West Valley, sometimes on the East Valley. And we just go to various hospitals or organizations that we know that are struggling, that have either bad reviews. But it's really not just that. We just want to thank them for showing up. The pandemic has really taken a beating on our medical care, our caregivers, our nurses. And so sometimes we'll do coffee trucks, sometimes we'll, buy them dinner or buy them lunch for the whole ER. It just really depends. And we just want to give back, and that's part of who we are.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, tell me a little bit about partnering with other states or, your organization with transitioning individuals from another state to Arizona. How does that work?
Yeah, so we always get people who transition to Arizona because we're a retirement state. And so most of the time I've picked people up from the airport and directly taken them there. So we're a one-stop shop. So if I need help with transitioning, if you need to sell your house here, or if you're buying a house here, I can hook you up with a realtor. There's really nothing that we can't do. We also have an Oregon sister chapter. So if you're coming from Oregon or if you're going to Oregon, we also have Senior One Source in Oregon, and they can help you in different areas. In Portland and Salem, there's variations of people who can help you and team members as well.
Well, great. Now, is there any upcoming events or projects that you guys are working on at OneSource?
So we do Wellness Wednesdays all the time, and so I know that we have a couple of colleagues that are doing their own projects. We all kind of work independently, but we are still a team. So we're at kind of various events. So we're not always together, but we always show up. The spotlight is one of those things that you'll probably see us most likely, or a colleague of mine at that. Because the guy who owns this is really good friends with our owner, and so we do support those that support us. And so you'll see us at the spotlight events a lot, maybe even speaking as a presenter. So just kind of all over the valley, and we'll be at other networking events as well.
That's awesome. Now, lastly then, I know this may sound obvious, but your ideal client, what would that be to you?
Oh, so I am the specialist in behavior because that's my background. But really anything. I take it as nothing is too much for us to do. We can handle it. And if I can't, I have a team of members and colleagues that can handle anything and assist with whatever. So if it comes from behaviors with dementia, Alzheimer's, where they're aggressive and combative, all the way to the easiest is, grandma wants to retire here and I need to sell her house. Bingo, I can help with that.
But also, I see hospice and home health and home care as well.
Yeah.
So really, a one-stop shop.
One-stop shop. If you called me right now and said, I have a hospice client, I need somebody to come see him in the next 24 hours, I have connections where people can go see that client within 24 hours. Sometimes, most likely, same day.
Well, you guys need to really reach out to Kaneka, a Trotter, actually. We all need help sometimes, and when it comes to the elderly, it can be overwhelming for families. And to know that there is a service that advocates and assists you with your loved ones, and in their getting older years or in their last days as well, what a service!
Oh.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
One last thing too, then, is there any advice that you would give to loved ones that don't know what to do or where to turn to for some advice? Any particular tips that you'd like to share?
I would say that get someone that you work with. There are people out here who do this for a living, and I wouldn't say just because you see them on TV that they're always the best. And so someone who is going to take your call, someone who's going to see your client one-on-one, and hire a professional, right? This is your loved one, this is the vulnerable population, and it's really financially intrusive at some times. And so the tip is to make sure that you trust the person who is helping your loved ones. It can always start with us. If you didn't like us, I always have great recommendations. But we are licensed, we're bonded, we're all professionals, we're all clinical, and so go with people that know what they're doing.
Well, that's awesome advice, actually. It's all about professionalism at the end of the day, and, are they well suited to do their job?
Yeah.
And are they passionate about it, right? It's the connection that you build, it's that partnership. Never really discount that small, still voice and that intuition that you have when you make connections with people.
Absolutely.
It really is telltale at the end of the day. So really a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Remember, it's not only what Dr. Nancy knows, but it's who she knows. We'll talk next week.